At the airport, ready for our family vacation, everything seemed set. My son Noah clutched his ticket and backpack, filled with toys, a coloring book, and his favorite stuffed dinosaur. He had even tucked in the Hawaii brochure he'd been carrying for weeks, excitedly pointing out all the places he hoped to see. He stood by my side, holding my hand tightly, his face glowing with anticipation. On my other side was my wife, Sophia. She wasn't engaged. Her attention was fixed on her phone, a faint smile curving her lips. Beside her stood her mother, Eleanor, rigid and commanding, surveying the airport crowd with that same air of superiority she carried everywhere, as though the world existed beneath her. The airport was alive, families laughing, children pressing their faces to the windows, couples checking tickets, the scent of fresh coffee in the air. It should have been a joyful moment, but as we reached the counter and I handed over our documents, things changed. The attendant frowned, scrolling through the system. "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't see a ticket for your son." My brows knit together. That couldn't be right. I had double-checked the bookings myself. I turned to Eleanor, expecting confusion or even an apology. Instead, she smirked, dismissing the issue with a wave of her hand. "There were too many of us," she said casually, "so we decided the children should stay behind." Her tone was light, as if she weren't discarding my son in the middle of a busy terminal. Noah's small hand squeezed mine harder, and my heart sank. I looked at Sophia, waiting for her to correct her mother or step in. But she only giggled, linked arms with Eleanor, and said, "It's a trip for real family after all." Her words hit like a blow. Real family. As if her own child didn't count. Noah's voice trembled beside me. "Dad, I want to go too." His eyes welled with tears, his tiny fingers gripping my sleeve. Something in me hardened. Eleanor sighed loudly. "Don't be so sensitive. He'll be fine." Sophia laughed again. They were dismissing his pain as if it meant nothing. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply took my son's hand and walked away. Behind me, I could still hear their laughter. They thought they had won. They thought this was the end. They had no idea what was coming. Noah curled up beside me at the terminal, still clutching his backpack like it was the only thing keeping him steady. His sobs quieted to sniffles, but his eyes were full of confusion and hurt. He looked up at me. "Dad, did I do something bad?" I knelt in front of him, holding his shoulders. "No, Noah, you didn't do anything wrong. This isn't about you. It's about them." His lip quivered. "Then why didn't they want me to come?" I steadied myself. He deserved honesty. Because they don't understand what real family is. But I do. In that moment, I made a promise. I would never let my son feel unwanted again. I would show him what love truly meant. I pulled out my phone. Noah wiped his nose on his sleeve and asked, "Who are you calling?" I smiled faintly. Someone who knows what real family is. 30 minutes later, Noah and I were boarding a different plane. Not to Hawaii, but to Disney World. As his face lit up with excitement, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Sophia believed she had control. She thought I would accept her cruelty in silence. But this was only the beginning. Julia's voice rushed over the phone. "I do, but you can't just let them fall apart like this." I leaned forward, elbow on the table. "Julia, I'm on vacation." She practically screeched. "With your real family," I finished smoothly. And before she could reply, I hung up. Across the ocean in their overpriced resort suite, I imagined the scene. Sophia and Eleanor pacing, phones buzzing. Stress was written on their faces. Sophia refreshing Instagram, watching the backlash grow, fingers trembling as she tried to craft another damage control post. Eleanor calling lawyers, demanding fixes and finding dead ends instead. The moment they mocked my son, they signed their own fate. That night, while they spiraled, I sat on the hotel balcony watching the fireworks above Cinderella's castle. Noah leaned on my shoulder, Mickey ears still on, clutching my hand. "Dad, will we do trips like this more often?" he asked. I smiled. Absolutely. In that moment I understood. Sophia and Eleanor had never been my family. They'd been takers. Now I was free, and I wasn't going to rescue them. The next morning, my phone showed missed calls from Sophia, Eleanor, and lawyers. Then a single text from Sophia. "Please just talk to me. We need you." I stared, then typed one word, "No." I turned the phone off. I was done cleaning up their messes. Sunlight filled the hotel room. Noah slept beside me, peaceful. I felt something I hadn't felt in years, calm. Then my phone buzzed again. 17 missed calls. Then an email confirming the collapse. Business accounts frozen. The major investor had pulled out. The IRS opening an inquiry. Eleanor's real estate empire was unraveling. All because I stepped away. I hadn't needed to fight. I just left, and the house of cards toppled without me. Sophia texted again, frantic. "Please, we need you to fix this." I smirked. For years I'd been the invisible problem solver no one appreciated. Now they realized how much they needed me. A few hours later, while in line at Disney World, Sophia called. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice was frantic. "My bank account, where is my money?" she demanded. "It's gone," I said. She already knew the answer. "You never bothered to check, did you?" I replied. "I took back what was mine," she gasped. "But I don't have anything left." I replied simply, "Exactly." When she mentioned Noah, my amusement vanished. "Noah is fine," I said, voice low. "He's safe and happy, something you never cared about." She cried unfairness. I hung up. For the first time, I felt no guilt. That night, Eleanor called. I almost ignored it, but curiosity pushed me to pick up. She sounded broken. "You win," she said, voice trembling. I asked, "What do I win?" She begged. Offered apologies. Promised anything if I'd come back and fix things. I listened. Then I told her what she'd always been. Someone who built power by stepping on others. Now she was powerless. I said I was on vacation with my real family, and I hung up. A week after we returned home, the doorbell rang. Frantic, insistent, I knew who it would be. Sophia and Eleanor stood outside, disheveled and desperate, their polished arrogance gone. I made them wait. When I opened the door, I leaned against the frame and asked coolly, "What do you want?" Sophia's voice shook. She begged. Eleanor's hands trembled. I let the silence do the work. Then I reached inside, took an envelope from the table, and handed it to Sophia. Inside were divorce papers. Her eyes lit with a desperate hope that collapsed the moment she saw the contents. "You're ending this just like that," she whispered. I nodded. "No, Sophia. You ended it when you laughed at your son." She tried to marshal charm and manipulation, but it failed. There was nothing left to offer. Eleanor pleaded for me to reconsider, to fix the company. I tilted my head. "You think this is petty revenge?" I asked. She argued that leaving the family would make me look weak. I stepped forward, voice low and steady. "No, Eleanor, you broke this home. You raised a daughter who treats her own child as disposable. This is on you." She was silent. She knew it was true. Sophia signed the papers with trembling hands. It was done. I stepped back inside, closed the door, and didn't look back. That night, listening to their retreating footsteps, I felt relief settle in. For years, I'd been trapped in a marriage chained to power and manipulation. Now I was free. Back inside, Noah greeted me with a proud grin. "Dad, I built a castle." I sat down beside him and smiled. This was real family. Not wealth, not control, but love. A week later, Sophia asked to discuss custody. We met at a quiet cafe. She looked different. No designer bag, no jewelry. Just a woman who'd run out of tricks. "I don't want to fight anymore," she said softly. I studied her. "You laughed at our son," I reminded her. She looked ashamed and quietly said she wanted shared custody because she didn't want to lose him completely. I told her plainly she didn't deserve him half the time, but I wouldn't block her entirely. If she wanted Noah, she would have to prove it. No more lies, no manipulation, no using him as a trophy. And one more condition: Eleanor must stay out of his life. She agreed. After that, things shifted. Sophia stopped treating Noah like a prop. She began showing up for school events and calling not to argue with me, but to talk to their son. He still preferred being with me, which I accepted, but when he was with his mother, he was treated as a child, not an accessory. That mattered. A few weeks later, she cut Eleanor out. I didn't need a reply to Sophia's message. I knew she'd made a choice. Months later, watching Noah run in the backyard, hearing him laugh, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. Sophia had learned, Eleanor had lost everything, and Noah finally had a home that offered unconditional care. One evening, while Noah concentrated on building with Legos, he looked up and said, "Dad, you're happier now." He was right. I had been sad for years. Now there was light in the house. The best revenge had not been to destroy them. It had been to build something better from the ashes. The divorce was final, the papers signed, and their influence gone. Our mornings became calm, our meals filled with laughter instead of tension, and the small, steady changes in Noah told me I had done the right thing. He didn't have to tiptoe around moods anymore. He played freely, laughed more, and began to set boundaries when needed. He knew his worth. That night, watching him sleep, I understood. The victory wasn't seen in their downfall. It was in the quiet of a home that finally felt safe, in the smile of a boy who no longer believed he was second best. And that, more than anything, was the only win that truly mattered. I had let myself live in a relationship that drained me. I convinced myself that this was just how things were. Better to stay than to start over. I had accepted misery as normal. Now, though, I was free, and my son noticed it before I did. I reached out and ruffled his hair. "You're right, Noah." His grin widened. In that moment it hit me. This was the life I was meant to have. A life without toxicity, without manipulation, without people who only wanted what I could give. A life where I could be myself, where I was enough. What happened to them? I hadn't heard from Eleanor in months. Her business collapsed beyond repair. Her reputation lay in ruins. The once powerful woman who controlled everything had been reduced to nothing, and she'd done it to herself. She thought she was invincible, but when an empire is built on lies and manipulation, it doesn't last. Sophia changed too, though not completely. People like her rarely do. She lost the money, the power, the perfect image. In the aftermath, she had to rebuild. She stopped trying to impress strangers online, and for the first time, she actually started being a mother. She wasn't perfect, and she never would be, but she was trying, and that was enough. One afternoon, while grocery shopping, I saw Sophia at the end of the aisle. She saw me, paused, then offered a small nod. No arrogance, no false politeness, just acknowledgement. I nodded back and kept walking. I didn't need anything from her. No apology, no closure. I'd already won. The best revenge, I realized, is living well. For years I thought I needed to make them suffer to feel vindicated. Now I understood. The real victory was watching them unravel on their own, while I built a peaceful life. Waking up in a home filled with love and laughter instead of resentment. That mattered far more than revenge. The collapse played out publicly. Headlines read like judgment. Once a real estate mogul, Eleanor faces financial collapse. Social feeds noted Sophia's silence. The elite whispered. The people who once idolized Eleanor now judged her. Her money was gone, her power diminished, her reputation ruined. She became a cautionary tale, and I didn't have to lift a finger. She destroyed herself. Sophia's fall was similar. Her curated life emptied out. No extravagant posts, no designer flaunts. Friends vanished when she was no longer useful. She wasn't destitute, but she'd lost the pedestal she lived on, and that exposed the person she'd been. I expected reconciliation attempts, and they came. One evening, finishing dinner with Noah, my phone lit up. "Can we talk?" I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. A few minutes later, she called. I stayed silent until she spoke. "I want to apologize," she said, softer than I'd ever heard. She admitted losing everything and finally named what mattered. Noah. Family. Maybe a year earlier it would have meant more, but now I'd already moved on. Does that mean we can fix this? She asked, hopeful. I answered calmly. There's nothing left to fix. She sniffled but offered something genuine. I want to be better for him. I told her to do it for Noah, not for me. She agreed. For the first time, there was sincerity in her voice. Maybe she'd change, maybe she wouldn't, but I wasn't waiting anymore. The next morning, I woke early, made pancakes for Noah, packed his bag, and drove him to school while we sang along to his favorite songs. Watching him run into class, I realized I was happy. Not just relieved, but deeply happy. I didn't need money, status, or power to build a real life. I needed peace, and I finally had it. That evening, on the back porch with a beer, I watched the sunset and thought about everything we'd lost and everything we'd gained. The best revenge wasn't ruining them. It was leaving with dignity intact, giving my son unconditional love, and escaping a life that would have drained me. Karma had taken care of the rest. Noah played in the yard, chasing fireflies in his superhero pajamas. We cooked together, made a mess, told bedtime stories. These were the moments that mattered. They had never understood that family means giving, not taking. That's why they lost everything. A few weeks later, Sophia reached out again, quietly checking in on Noah. She said, I want to be better for him. I told her to prove it. Then I watched my son chase fireflies and understood fully. Like those fireflies, we're happiest when free. I was free too. For years, I'd felt trapped, convinced I had to stay. The moment I chose freedom for myself and for Noah, everything changed. I didn't need revenge. The true victory was this: a peaceful night, a happy son, a life full of love instead of obligation. I had chosen us, and we had won.